All right, and joining me on the phone now, very special guest, very, very, very excited to have this man on the phone. He is the head coach of the fourth-ranked team in all of college basketball, getting set to finish their regular season on Saturday at West Virginia. Scott Drew is on the phone. Coach, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. It's 70 degrees, sunshine in Waco, Texas, so it's a great day to be alive.
Well, listen, it's been sunshine basically. I don't know why my voice just cracked there, but neither here nor there. I was going to say, it's been sunshine since like November 11th in that place. I mean, it is unbelievable to watch this team, and I will drop a little humble brag here. I was the only person, as best I can tell, in the media to pick Baylor to make the Final Four in the preseason. But 26-3, 24-game win streak. It really basically has been all sunshine and rainbows in Waco over the past, 4 or 5 months. I mean, I know that you thought this team would be good. You and I did briefly talk over the summer, and I think you thought this team would be good. Did you have any idea 26-3, 24-game winning streak, no loss from whatever it was, November 8th to, February 28th or whatever it was? Could you have ever imagined anything like this?
Well, I knew we would be good, but you never really think you're going to win every game, because that hadn't been done in a long time. And as far as the old streak in the Big 12 was 22 games, and the reason no one has come close to that in recent history is because the last 6 years the Big 12 has been the number one ranked conference in the country. So because of the parity, you're not winning those kind of games in a row, and normally the winner of the Big 12 has 4 or 5 losses. So at the beginning of the year, I never thought about streaks or things like that, and the fact that we've been ranked number one longer than anyone since Kentucky in 2014, 2015, wow. And there's been a lot of great teams since then. That just shows how consistent this group has been. Now, you and I talked, and we thought that we definitely had potential. I do want to make you sound smart and be smart at the end of the year with that Final Four pick, but as you know, that's what makes college basketball so exciting. You never know who's going to win. Each night there's upsets, and when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds, the least thing you normally get is consistency, and especially over several months of conference games. So the fact that our guys have been able to do that really bodes to what kind of togetherness they have, what kind of team leadership they have, and the players really deserve all the credit for all their effort and hard work.
Yeah, and that's been the one thing as I watch you guys that I've been so impressed. And obviously, look, maybe I was a little bit higher than most, but certainly, listen, I can't take credit for thinking you guys are going to win 24 games, all that stuff. But what has been so impressive to me is in this season where some of the quote-unquote elite programs have not been as good as they normally are, is that, we've seen Kentucky lose to Evansville and Duke lose to Stephen F. Austin. And then there are just the normal losses that happen, as you said, in conference play. You go on the road. It's a tough environment. What's been so impressive to me about your team, Coach, is, all those games in the end of January, the beginning of February, where a team just goes on the road and doesn't have their best effort. And your guys always seem to be ready to go, to be locked in. Not every game is perfect, but it just feels like, and I know TCU the other day was a tough one, and you guys have been a little bit banged up, but what I've been so impressed with, have you ever been around a group that, on a Tuesday night, against a conference opponent, when they're bringing their best shot, it just feels like this team is always locked in every single night?
Well, I think first and foremost, our players, we have that blue collar mentality, that lunch pail every day, show up, work hard, guys, and that translates, because at the end of the day, you are going to be banged up in conference play, and there's going to be nights where you're not making shots. But if the effort and the defense is there, it gives you a chance to be successful. And I think we have everyday guys, and that's harder and harder to find each and every day as the recruiting cycle goes on. From the standpoint, there is a lot of parity, and a lot of times that mental strength and toughness is really a deciding factor. And again, we got a lot of guys that put in a lot of time. They're really invested in bringing their their top effort, their A game every night. It doesn't guarantee a win, doesn't guarantee they're going to make every shot, but if they're playing hard and competing and they like playing with one another, it definitely gives you a better chance to be successful. And defensively, I know we've been very consistent for most of the year. Second half against TCU, they really got hot and we didn't have an answer. But other than that, really proud of their effort. Our staff has done a great job in really helping this group. So as a head coach, the great thing is if you have a really good staff, you have really good players, you get to go along for the ride and you get to enjoy it, and that's what I've been able to do this year.
Going along for the ride, I mean, at what point, and again, you know, even when you and I spoke in the summer, I think you were excited about this group, but at what point did you realize, okay, we have a chance to be really good? Was there a moment, was there a game, or was it, or like you said, have you just been along for the ride the whole time?
Well, I think going to Italy on a foreign tour, we were able to. One thing that really struck me is whenever you're on a foreign tour, there's a lot of travel, and some of it's inconvenient. And never at any time did anyone complain during that trip, and
Wow.
that was a first for me from the standpoint. Normally, you got guys that, man, this is early, this is a long bus ride, this or that, and we didn't have any of that. And the guys really got along. And whenever you have great chemistry, you have really good guys, but then you have that mental toughness where they're not going to be fazed by travel delays, wear and tear, and stuff like that. You know, you could have a special group. And then obviously when we began the season and you beat Villanova to win the Myrtle Beach Invitational, and then you turn around and you beat Arizona, you beat Butler, and you're like, well, we got a chance to be pretty good, and then just picked up momentum from there.
You mentioned your guys, and for people who don't follow this stuff day in and day out, first of all, I think the ESPN broadcasts have done a great job of kind of telling the stories of your guys. But, you know, your second leading scorer, Maceo Teague, started his career at UNC Asheville. You know, Freddie Gillespie, his story has been told time and time again, but he started at a D3 school, transferred in. I don't even think he played at the D3 school. I could be mistaken on that, in like 9 minutes or something like that. How do you?
Yeah, 16 minutes for the whole season.
Oh, okay.
That's as good a story as you'll ever hear. A guy that played 16 minutes his first year in Division III basketball, and then now will have a chance to hopefully go to a Final Four and hopefully be drafted.
I was going to say, how do you describe the guys that you have in your program? Because you have had the McDonald's All-Americans, the Perry Joneses, guys like that. But I was looking at some stuff today. Not that recruiting rankings are a be-all, end-all, but no top 50 recruits, I believe, in your program. Guys that have transferred from small schools, from D3 schools, guys that have been in your program. But how would you describe the dudes, the guys that you have in your program right now?
I think guys with the chip on the shoulder, hard-working blue chip type guys. So guys that haven't been entitled or told they're the best thing since sliced bread since 8th grade, and they just come to work every day and try to get better every day and love to compete. And as you know, it doesn't really matter where you start; it's where you finish. And we got a lot of guys that are doing a great job trying to finish strong.
So you mentioned Freddie Gillespie. I mean, what was it? I know it was an incredible recruiting find by you guys. I mean, there was obviously something in those 16 minutes that you saw that you said, that guy's a starting center in the Big 12. So go ahead. What was it?
Well, to be honest, most coaches, whenever you have a chance to get a 6'10",
Sure.
7'6" wingspan walk-on, you're like, that's a pretty good walk-on, because most of your walk-ons are about 6 foot, as you know. So that was the beginning of the process. The second thing, though, was when Freddie got here. Unbelievable work ethic. I joke, but if you want to send mail to him his first year, you'd send it to the practice gym, because he lived in the practice gym. And I don't know if I've ever coached anyone that's improved as much as he has in as short a period of time as he has. And it's been in the weight room. It's been how he eats. I mean, he does all the little things and all the fundamental drills that nobody wants to do, and he'd do them over and over and over. I think he could do the mic and drill in his sleep, and because of that, he's really improved and been able to be a key player in college basketball this year.
And Davion Mitchell and Maceo Teague, your second and third leading scorers, they were both sit-outs last year, and I think you told me something similar. They basically lived in the gym as red shirts last year.
Yeah, both of them extremely hard-working guys, and guys that who just love basketball. They love to compete, and I don't know if probably when they're 75 years old, they'll be playing one-on-one in the backyards together.
Fantastic. Where do you think you guys are right now at this point in the season? Listen, you're banged up. You did lose a couple games, but listen, I mean, when you lose to the number 2 or 3 ranked team in the country, it happens. And as we said with TCU, 1, you're banged up. 2, it was really the first time you guys had an off night all season. How do you feel about the team right now? We're now, a week till Selection Sunday, about 5-6 days till you guys ship off to KC for the Big 12 tournament. How do you feel about this group right now?
Well, I think right now, Mark Vital's been battling some tendonitis in his knee, and we need to get him healthy. And Tristan Clark wasn't able to play last game. We need to get him back. And then other than that, Maceo is still recovering from his wrist injury. So normal wear and tear of the Big 12 season, and we got as strong a guys and as athletic a guys and guys that compete as hard as they do night in and night out in the Big 12. You're going to have bumps and bruises, and the key is after the Big 12 tournament, hopefully we can get a couple days and make sure we got everybody as healthy as they can be heading into the NCAA tournament, because this year, just like any other year in the NCAA tournament, you never know what's going to happen. It's not the best 4-7 where the best team wins. It's 40 minutes, and you better bring it, otherwise you're home.
Absolutely. How big was that Texas Tech win the other night? Because I was watching it, and, I've watched a ton of your guys' games this year, and you mentioned you beat Villanova in the out-of-conference, you beat Arizona, you beat Butler, but last game against Texas Tech, they were desperate for a win. You're down 2-3 guys, and you have guys that are banged up on the court, and I was sitting there saying, watching that game, I thought it was one of your more impressive wins, all things considered.
Yeah, I thought the guys really competed. Both teams played extremely hard, and I mean, Coach Beard's teams are so good at having motion offense, and then defensively outstanding. So you really have to play well to beat them. And most of the night we're playing 4 guards, 6'3", 6'4" and under, and they did a great job competing and battling. And Matthew Meyer and Flo Thomb off the bench gave us a great lift, and we were able to win on senior night, which every coach always wants to do, because you want to send out the seniors on a high note and make sure their last game in their home arena, in our case the Farrell Center, was a good one, and so pleased we were able to do that for them.
Very good. Last couple questions. We'll let you go. The first one, I actually meant to ask you this after we were talking about some of the guys on this team, but, normally it's not something I would ask, but the transfer rule, so we have this new rule that may go into place where guys are eligible immediately, and I was thinking about your program specifically, where we just mentioned Davion Mitchell, Maceo Teague, they both transfer from D1 schools. Maybe in 2-3 years down the road, they might not have to sit out. Where do you stand on this? Because it feels like it's been a very important developmental tool for you and your program to have guys sitting out for a year.
Well, I think first and foremost, every situation is different.
Sure.
We don't like if guys would redshirt. It's always their choice. At the end of the day, one thing that is nice is when you transfer, it does give players an opportunity to work on their game for 1 year, where they don't have the pressures of, you didn't get enough playing time, you didn't get enough shots, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and they really just to get to be selfish and for 1 year work on their body, work on their skill development, work on the understanding of their offense, defense. They play the scout team, which they learn the other teams in conferences offenses, and it's really like an internship, and that's really beneficial for people in a lot of areas. And I know we always look at it, and there's 13 scholarship guys, so that means 5 are playing. That means 8 aren't playing. And no matter how well you treat your team, it's hard to keep 8 guys happy that aren't playing. And I know that's a big concern for coaches out there, because 99% of the people aren't going to the NBA. You want to make sure they graduate. You want to make sure they have a chance to get a master's if they want to do that, if they sit out a year and then within 5 years. But a lot of people actually give themselves a better chance to play professionally, because they're usually a better player when they're 22 or 23 than when they're 18. So it's one of those things where there could be a lot of good in sitting out and working on your game, and at the same time it allows you to do that without the constant pressure from everybody in your ear, your friends and everyone. Why aren't you playing? Why aren't you doing this? Where you can just like I said, be selfish and improve for a year. So that's a concern for some coaches out there because, as we all know, people mature at a different rate, and no matter what, you're only playing 5. So until we can put 7 on the court at one time, you have 8 on the bench, and normally the 8 on the bench, it's more enjoyable to play than to sit. But no matter what, there's 353 schools, and all of us are only playing 5 at one time.
Yeah, I know I know there's some things that, maybe whatever. Like I personally feel like, having been around this sport for a long time, I don't feel like for a lot of kids it's the worst thing to sit out because not only are you developing physically but mentally, emotionally as well. Mm-hmm. So last question, I'll let you go. I mean, at the end of the day, we're recording here March 5th. For everybody, this thing is going to be over in a month from now, and whether that's in Atlanta at the Final Four, whether it's in the NCAA tournament, whether for some teams it's going to end this week in conference tournament play, what do you hope to get out of the next 4 or 5 weeks with this group? Because, I mean, I know it sounds like from dating back to last summer when you guys were over in Europe, it's been a special experience. Like, what are you just hoping to get out of these last couple weeks with these guys outside of the obvious, which is the goal to win the national championship?
Well, we'd love to keep everybody healthy, and we like to say control what we can control, and that is play Baylor basketball and play it to our fullest and best. And if we lose, you can handle that, but you'd much rather do it when you're at your best. So, trying to just control what we can control, and hopefully it's a historic run for us because this team has done a lot of things that have been first in our school program history, and love to send them out on a high note.
Fantastic. Scott Drew, the head coach of the Baylor Bears, 4th-ranked team in the country. They're playing at West Virginia this weekend, heading to the Big 12 tournament. My man, I appreciate you doing this. End of the season. Everybody's worn down. You making a few minutes. I can't thank you enough, Coach. I really appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you. Have a great day. Thanks for all you do for college basketball.